this episode, Andy is joined by referee Sean O'Brien and Derek from Unsanctioned Pro to discuss the state of pro wrestling under the coronavirus of 2020. Welcome to the road home from wrestling.
Here in my car, I feel safest of all. I can lock all my doors, and it's the only way I live in cars.
Don't forget to follow the Road Home from Wrestling podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the Road Home FW, and you can follow me at Drucifer Tweets on Twitter. Thanks, and back to the show. All right, well, welcome back to the Road Home from Wrestling interview, sort of. My name's Andy. I'm coming to you live to tape from the Road Home from Wrestling world headquarters of the world. And I got a couple different people on tonight, and what we're going to try to do is give you kind of a perspective on how this whole virus thing is affecting certain people in the world of pro wrestling. First, let's bring in Sean O'Brien. Sean, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, Drew? How you doing, brother? Good to see you, man.
I'm great.
Good to talk to you. Yes.
Yeah, you and Derek are trying to compete for the most times on the show. So I can appreciate that. You sent me a text earlier in the week, and you're like, hey, if you're going to have Derek on soon, I think you need to have me on to make it kind of even a little bit.
Wait, hold on. Rewind. No, actually what I said was, if you're going to have Step Stool and Braden on, which both of them are two of my close homies. I love both those people, and I listened to both of them. I was like, yo, if you're doing interviews while this whole, BS is going on, let's chop it up.
It's true. It's true. I was trying to make a joke, but you want to bring reality in all this. Anyway, well, we got Sean O'Brien, the ref. We also have the owner and proprietor of Unsanctioned Pro. We have Derek. How you doing, Derek?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. And Sean, don't think that I don't know what you're up to, man. You found out, you're like, he's going to pass me. He's going to pass me. I got to get on there.
Right? Nah, for real, though. Like, this is my favorite podcast. So, I mean, why wouldn't I want to be the most, featured guest on this thing? So
I think you guys are all toasted by Magnum CK, though, I think. And he's going to come on again here soon to plug his movie again. So, I don't know. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, well, one of the reasons I wanted to get you guys on was just to say, hey, how you doing? I hope everybody's good and everything like that. And then also just to kind of see how this whole thing's affecting your life. Sean, pro wrestling means a lot to you. Tell me, how has this whole virus thing affected your life?
Well, so as far as like the quote unquote shoot life, apparently my job is essential, so I still have to go to work every single day, and so that's been a thing. And which I mean is kind of, I kind of look at it as it gets me in the house. Otherwise, I would literally just be sitting in my apartment, just bored out of my mind, sleeping all the time, and just hanging out with my daughter. So it's kind of been, I guess, a blessing in disguise that I'm still working. But my shoot job, we make the interior of airplanes, like the wood veneer that go on the interior of like private jets. So apparently they deem that essential. So, but besides that, of course, I am pulling my hair out and missing wrestling, because, like you said, it is very important to me. I try to keep myself booked practically pretty much every weekend, and I do a pretty good job of it. So as soon as all of my bookings started to, drop and all that stuff, like literally, like I could just feel my happiness like leave my body. and it's been rough trying to get used to it. But I've been finding ways to still kind of, I guess, get my drug, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, man, and that's, I have to be honest, it hasn't hit me like it's hit everybody else. And we'll get to Derek here in a second, but just a real quick kind of rundown of how this has affected me. I've been able to, I'm still getting paid, and but I'm not at work until like next week or something, and we'll see if that even happens. And I'm fine in my personal life. My problem is that I was a little burned out on doing the podcast towards the past couple weeks before all this coronavirus thing happened. So, it hasn't hit me yet. The whole like this thing that I love is gone. Because I've been able to watch some stuff on TV. I've been going back, reliving things. And luckily I have this awesome podcast where I can go back, and relive all these fun times that I've had with my friends and stuff. So I've been doing a little bit of that. Derek, how has all this affected you in your personal life? And then we're going to get into some crazy shit. What it's like to be a promoter when there's a worldwide pandemic going on.
Well, as far as like the personal life, I haven't really had many issues. Anybody who really knows me, outside of wrestling knows that I already work from home. I have for years. So I'm very fortunate on that aspect. All three of us, luckily, aren't experiencing any income issues off of our primary work, which is nice. But like Sean kind of alluded to, for him, it's every weekend. His quote unquote drug is getting out there and going to shows and hitting the road and reffing matches. For me, it's 5-6 times a year getting to put on these really crazy shows for a fan base in Columbus that doesn't normally get that much great wrestling. So it's a bummer, man. We didn't lose a ton of money because of the cancellation. Some people took refunds and whatnot. So as a company, we'll be okay. But it really just bums me out that it's not going to be able to happen, because one of the things I look forward to is being able to put these together for other people. And not being able to do that kind of sucks.
Sean, what's an experience been like at Unsanctioned Pro, or is there an experience that you've had there that, you kind of feel like thankful for, you almost want to walk up to Derek after the show like I do every time and say thank you so much.
Yeah, and I still do, just because, like Unsanctioned Pro is one of, if not my favorite promotion to go to. It's close, but it's like so many just crazy moments. Every show, I always end up getting a T-shirt and a DVD of the last show that we had, and you can ask Derek because I always get it from Derek. So, yep. But just because I love watching Unsanctioned back, and like I've watched this most recent show. I think I've watched Myron Reed and Trey Lamar from that show probably a good 20 times. So like, yeah, I definitely was feeling it yesterday, not being able to be at Unsanctioned Pro, especially because the show yesterday had like so much cool stuff going on it, like the debut of Logan stunt. Logan, little, behind baseball, Logan was actually riding up with me, and I love the stunts. Like those are my boys. That's my little brothers. So like, yeah, it definitely was a bummer.
Yeah, well, shout out to Mama's stunt too, by the way. I hear she's not feeling very well right now, so
yeah,
better.
Sending prayers to Mama stunt, because I definitely saw some posts, and I'm kind of worried about that. So, because the whole stunt family is just amazing. Like I've talked about it before. Me and Marco are super close, and of course that led to me getting close to Logan, and then just in the last few months, just since I'd say the last GCW show that was in Nashville, I got super close with the stunts, as far as like their Mama and Papa stunt, and both of them are just really cool people. So, but yeah, man. But well, and not just like Unsanctioned, but like like IWA hasn't been running. Like Glory Pro has canceled all their shows. Of course, I was supposed to be at WrestleMania, I was supposed to be in Tampa with the WrestleMania festivities next week. And so like as all that passes by, it makes it worse and worse, man. So
I'm with you. Well, I just, for me, just to kind of give us kind of a baseline here, and then we're going to kind of see how this timeline worked for you guys. I was I was concerned with my job more than anything, and what I mean is not having the job or being paid. We were assured in writing that we would be continue to be paid and taken care of, so I was happy about that. I was just concerned about going because I have to go to people's homes in my job, and like one of the last places that I went was a couple weeks before, like a week and a half ago, and there's like two people in the home just coughing their heads off, and I'm walking around in there, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this ain't worth it. I have family members that would die if they caught this thing. So, I was just really concerned with my job getting shut down. And as soon as that happened, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. The last show that we were supposed to go to, we were supposed to do a double shot on like 2 Sundays ago or something like that for Bizarre Lucha and NWF Future Stars. And we decided the Bizarre Lucha show did run, but we decided it would be irresponsible to go. So we decided not to go, and that's kind of where we've been. And I've just been trying to create as much content as I can since then. It took a couple days off, but now here we are trying to bust some shit out. Derek, what was this whole timeline like for you as far as like, you were supposed to, today we are supposed to be basking in the glow of the most recent Unsanctioned Pro show. Meanwhile, we're just kind of all talking about it from different parts of the country. How did this all work out for you as far as like a couple timeline steps we can get from the very beginning here?
I'd say probably about a month ago is when I first personally started thinking like, this is getting kind of serious. I don't know if they're going to let us have a show. And it's just as we got closer, basically, I'd say week by week is the easiest way to look at it. At first it's like, oh, this might happen. Then it's like, yeah, it's probably going to happen. And then it's, when's it going to happen? Like I literally, the day that our governor announced that they were banning gatherings of 100 people or more, I had called the athletic commission like 2 hours prior because I was already kind of like, hey, are you guys going to let me get a permit? And they're like, well, right now, yeah, but the governor might change that. And a couple hours later, he's on TV and it was done. And we had already at that point kind of been thinking about like, should we run or not? So, yeah, I'd say about a month, man. You've watched it just go from very excited for a show with a crazy lineup that we were like, we had so much stuff planned and new debuts and people coming back, and now everybody's just got to hang out at home.
Yeah, there was a couple people in particular I knew that were kind of making a debut. One was Big Cuz and Andrew Reed from Northern Wrestling Federation. And I know from talking to them that they were both very excited about this. Sean, what are some of the things that you were excited about that now we can, commiserate about?
You talking about as far as like at the unsanctioned show?
Yeah.
I was excited for Aaron Williams to get that MF title.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that was actually going to happen because obviously, like I'm cool with Office, but like I don't ask those kind of questions. So, but yeah. So also, of course, Big Cuz. I love that guy. I work with him on a weekly basis. It was really cool to get to see him perform in front of just such a lively, audience, like a sold out audience. Because Cuz is the man. But yeah, Aaron, of course, like I said a minute ago, Logan Stunt. What was it? It was Logan and
Lord Crew,
wasn't it?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, Crew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that match is going to be so good. Yeah. So, of course, my boy Shane Mercer coming back again. Like just so much that I was looking forward to. So.
Now, Derek, it's not just the wrestling that goes on in Unsanctioned Pro. There's all kinds of shenanigans that goes on behind the stage, in front of the stage, next to the stage, under the stage, and out in the parking lot. So a couple things. I just kind of want to ask about your feelings a little bit. You have because this kind of goes a little bit along like the ways that I feel is that I took a couple days off from the podcasting thing. I didn't plan anything, and then I started thinking to myself, hey man, I kind of have a responsibility to these listeners that have stuck with us for 400 fucking episodes that maybe we need to try to help to entertain them a little bit and not wallow in our self-delusions or whatever. So it's a bummer that we don't get to do all this cool stuff, obviously, but I mean, do you feel that responsibility to the fans of Unsanctioned Pro, and how does that play out in your decision making and how this all kind of went down?
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of touched on earlier, one of the biggest upsetting parts about this is letting the fans down, because I enjoy putting on these shows for other people, and in the last, I'd say, almost 2 years at this point, we've built up a fan base of people who want to do everything that social distancing is telling you not to do. Our fans like to hang out together, drink beers in the parking lot, tailgate, just get ready for the show, because once everybody's in there, everybody's connected and having a blast. It's a great community feeling. So, yeah, I mean, it's a giant bummer to not be able to facilitate that again.
Sean, besides me, who were you looking forward to seeing the most that you don't get to see very often?
Dude, if I could be completely honest with you, Unsanctioned Pro is a opportunity for me, because it's every couple months or so. It's an opportunity for me to get closer to Max Recon. Well, AJ, I guess, if you want to call him now, because he hates that. But I could go even further, but I'm not going to.
Hey, I'm calling him Max Recon until he tells me different. So he's Max Recon until he tells me different.
I literally call him AJ just to get on his nerves, because he loves he takes a lot of pride in that Max Recon name. So, but nah, yeah, it's an opportunity for me to get closer with Max and like soak his brain, and me and him just have so like really deep talks on the way to Ohio, and then on the way back. So, of course, hanging out, soaking his brain with Max Recon. Well, and Andy, actually, to be fair, I've seen you quite a bit here recently. Well, I was seeing you quite a bit. You know what I'm saying? You were popping up at some IWA shows, and then I saw you at Bizarro, and you know what I mean? So I got to be getting to see you here recently quite a bit. But of course, always seeing you is great, and chopping it up with you, hanging out with Derek, because me and Derek are pretty close. Like another Inside Baseball, I stayed with him, last year for WrestleMania weekend, and
Yes.
And so me and Derek, got real close through that. So just seeing everybody, and then of course all the people that was supposed to be up there that I've been talking about as far as the boys go, and yeah, bummer.
What are you doing, Sean? What are you doing to kind of deal with this? Because I mean, we touched on it a little bit, but this giant. Okay, real quick breakdown. I mean, maybe some of us are this way, maybe some of us are not, but I tend to think of it this way, is that, the things you're obsessed with in your life, whether they be drugs in a negative way or, like hard drugs and stuff like that, or if it's like wrestling, which is like a positive outlet, in my opinion, for, this kind of negative force or hole that you feel inside yourself, you fill it with these things, right?
Yeah.
And, the more good things you can fill your life with, usually the better your life is, and wrestling is one of those good things. What are you dumping in that hole now? Are you doing any? I mean, how are you dealing with this, Sean?
Well, and as you were alluding to just a second ago, another outlet for that release, I guess you can say, is music, because that was what I had before I had wrestling. We've talked about that before, and so before I sang and wrote R&B and did what I did in the hip hop scene over in Louisville and different stuff, I really wasn't doing music. I really wasn't doing anything. I really wasn't doing much to try to accomplish my, I guess, dream jobs that I always wanted to be, I guess, or whatever, whenever I was a child. And besides, I would sing backup for a couple of R&B singers here in Louisville. Besides that, I really wasn't doing a whole lot to further those dreams until finally one day I was like, hey, man, and I started asking the right questions to the right people, and I started doing my solo thing as an R&B artist. and all that stuff. But before that, my only release for my music once I graduated high school was karaoke. And so from about the age of 19, I was sneaking into a couple different bars, and they would call me the Tuesday night show off and different stuff. From about 19 to about 22, 22 is whenever I first started like going really hard with my music. I sang so much karaoke, and I was, known at all the little hole in the wall bars here and over in Jeffersonville.
Well, what's the go-to song?
Go-to song. I do a lot of Garth, R. Kelly. I do some R. Kelly. If I Could Turn Back the Hands of Time, that was always a panty dropper that the girls would always end up coming up and trying to holler. So, but Usher, Nice and Slow. That was another one that I always would like to pop off. But so yeah, I started doing my music thing, and started going hard with that. And then literally that led to wrestling. I kind of had slowed down on the music because I found wrestling, and I started going really hard with it, and started making that dream happen. And so that's why like now my musical release is I'll go karaoke in every now and then whenever I have a chance to. It's a blast to go out karaokeing with the boys. That's actually one of the ways that me and Marco Stunt got really close, was because one of the first times we went out, we went to a karaoke bar. But yeah, like as far as that release, the karaoke is how I kind of still get my musical release. This is kind of long-winded, but as far as the wrestling goes, dude, I started losing bookings, and bookings started to cancel, and the last booking that I had was IWA Mid-South Battle Broads. We had a show, and it was depressing because like the attendance at the last two Battle Broad shows had been so great, and this one you could definitely tell that what was going on in society had hurt it. But yeah, besides all that, so I at first whenever I would get home from work, I would just try and watch different wrestling. I was trying to keep up with, because I was like, man, this is history, this empty arena stuff, like with WWE and AEW and how they are having all these empty arena matches. Plus, as a worker, I can watch it and study it, and just in case I have to do it, you never know. And so I was trying to watch those, and dude, to be completely honest with you, it just got too depressing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I couldn't do it, and so I've kind of slowed down watching current wrestling at the moment. And I've literally been deep diving in shoot interviews. I've watched some high spot interviews. I've been watching a lot of old IWA Mid-South, like old IWA Mid-South. I've been watching a lot of like stuff that has happened recently, but like not too recent to it. Because like I watched that Bizarro Lucha show, and even that was almost kind of depressing because I know what those crowds have been like. And like those crowds have been like, literally shoulder to shoulder. And that last Bizarro Lucha show, you could definitely tell that the attendance was hurt. And so I've been deep diving and watching a shit ton of wrestling. As far as podcasts go, because me and you talk about this all the time. We're both big podcast people. Dude, I started listening to some of the more recent like episodes of podcasts. And that would get me depressed because they were talking about the same shit, the coronavirus and how it's affecting pro wrestling. And it was starting to get to me and starting to affect me. So I have deep dove down into, I don't know if you ever listen to Lillian Garcia's podcast, but she has a really good podcast.
Okay.
I've also, there's been a couple other podcasts that I've kind of been going back and listening to some of the stuff in the archive, But yeah, man, literally, I've just still been trying to divulge myself in wrestling and in some way without being able to actually do it, and it's been pretty rough.
I feel you, man. That's what we're here to talk about. Now, Derek, well, before we started recording, Sean mentioned that one match in particular he had watched 30 times, I believe he said. So we know this is something he's been chucking in his hole of sadness, just like we all have. Tell me about how the IWTV thing is all worked out and how folks can watch some of this stuff, because obviously they got a lot of time in their hand and all the UP shows are on IWTV, right?
Yeah. As of maybe a month and a half ago, we've got the whole catalog on there now. So go to independentwrestling.tv or iwtv.live and use promo code Unsanctioned. You'll get 5 days for free. After that, it's $10 a month. We got 8 shows on there, so countless hours of stuff. Sean was talking about the street fight from the last show, UP8, between Myron Reed and Trey Lamar, which was fucking bonkers.
Insane.
So if you're a fan of those guys as wrestlers, you'll get what you expect, but you also get a lot of stuff you don't expect out of them.
Bro.
So trust me, like it's worth going out of your way for. If you don't watch anything else in the catalog, go check that one out because you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that match, I don't know if it's the best match that I've seen in Unsanctioned Pro, but it's one of the best matches I saw last year. So was that last year? I guess that was this year. So
Nope.
yeah.
Well, 2 weeks into the year, we were like, all right, 2020, top this, and guess what? Now it's harder because nobody's running shows.
Well, then that might be match of the year candidate. Although we don't do those lists on this show, But yeah, that match was so awesome. It gave me that feeling. Going back and watching it, I can kind of feel like that might make me feel sad and happy all at the same time, but that's kind of the feeling we're all having, is this bittersweetness. How are you dealing with all this, Derek? And tell me some more about some more stuff from a promoter's point of view of how this has all worked out for you.
Well, from a promoter's point of view, it's got me trying to figure out what I can do and when I can do it. Because right now my priority is, at some point this summer, we're going to have shows within driving distance of Columbus. I'd say within 30 minutes, 40 minutes at most. We're looking for places to hold outdoor shows during the hottest months. They'll probably be early afternoon, middle of the day shows. And that's frankly because with everything going on with this virus, that's apparently when it's going to be the most safe for people to do stuff. So be on the lookout for that. Obviously, we got to see how things pan out with the whole pandemic and the virus and people getting slowly back to normal, hopefully before the actual summer gets here. Personally, man, it's a lot of the same, really. I'm kind of a homebody anyways. I just don't have actual wrestling stuff to work on. Catching myself playing a lot of video games, watching a lot of stuff on Netflix, watching a lot of stuff on Hulu, just kind of trying to pass the time until we can get back to normal. I made an impulse buy of a Nintendo 64 so that I could get all of the wrestling games for it, because for whatever reason I thought that was going to help.
Well, that might be used for something else in the future, maybe, so right? That might be something that ends up getting used at a future show. You never know.
Yeah, definitely. I've actually, oh man, now that you bring it up, let's go ahead and reminisce about other things that probably aren't going to be able to happen.
Hey,
man.
Sean, what was your reaction when you found out that there might be a camping show?
Dude, he hit me up about it, and he asked me if I was available for that date, and I was like, no, why? And he was like, well, this is what we're doing. And I was like, you suck. It's incredible, man. Like, it's such a cool concept, cool idea.
Dude, I'm just going to lay it all out here.
Yeah, tell us about WrestleStock.
Yeah, all right, yeah. Drew dropped it. The name's WrestleStock, which is something that had just come up in conversation before with some other people. So we were going to run with the WrestleStock name. We were going to have like a cool hippie graphic on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Dude, the plan honestly was going to be like a late afternoon tailgate things. Like people show up at 4 o'clock. We were going to have the wrestling ring in the middle of a campsite. So like the ring would have been in the middle, and then there's a circle of 30 campsites around it. They had a place with showers and all this stuff. It was going to be like the show would have been in the evening, but before that, we basically would have had like a tailgate, like people already do at the shows. Dude, we were going to have a Nintendo 64. We were going to have like
it was going to be on a freaking campground. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. We were going to have a No Mercy tournament. We were going to have karaoke after the show.
Yes.
Like, it was going to be insane. And like,
we can still make it happen. It's not too late.
Nah, man.
We'll see. You know, I mean,
we'll see. Man, I'm not pulling the plug yet. Like, I really want this to go down, but they're saying that the whole virus thing is looking to peak in the middle of May. We were scheduled for 2 weeks after that, so I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't want this statement to be anything, and I don't want any statement that's made on this podcast to be anything that someone takes as a political statement, because it certainly is not. But my feeling is that, yeah, we're going to have like the whole spring and half the summer still dealing with this. I think there's no doubt about that. And I hope that's not true, but I think it is. So, you know, one of the things that I love about Derek, and, you know, sometimes I get to see some of the inside stuff that he's working on and whatnot, is that you like to plan things. You know, there's some promotions who all this happened to them and they're like, well, shit, we're fucked. I don't know what we're going to do. We're probably just going to close down forever, you know, and they're going to jump out of a window or something. And you seem very calm about all this, and you kind of, yes, it fucking sucks. It's terrible, but the business isn't going to fail. It's not the end of the world, and you've kind of taken this in stride. But that's because you had 50 things planned already, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would rather be meticulously planned out and then have too much going on, i.e. every single day of show while we're setting up, or rather than just show up and kind of be like, all right, here's what we're doing today. It's a bummer, man, like you said, because I do go through and plan everything out. I was just thinking about like our core fan base and the people that would have gone to the camping show, and the memories it would have made for people, but not only the fans, but the wrestlers, the referees, you know, anybody who's just there hanging out, because, yeah, it would have been like
family. Yeah,
dude.
Well,
legitimately. But 2021, I'm telling you.
I mean, it's going to happen.
Year.
Yeah. It's going to happen eventually. It's just, you know, obviously we'll see when it does, but
and don't steal my shit.
Yeah, get your shit up there. But anyway, one of the things I love about Unsanctioned Pro is that I remember when I first went to Rockstar Pro, and the wrestlers were like walking around through the crowd after the show talking to people, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I didn't realize that those relationships even existed. And then, you know, one of the things I love about Unsanctioned Pro is that it, more than other places, it breaks down that barrier between the wrestlers and the, you know, fans, quite literally, by not having a barrier. And also because a good chunk of your fan base has relationships with these wrestlers already, and so having that kind of campground type situation would have broken down that barrier even more. And like you said, the relationships and the fun that would have come out of that, or can still come out of that, was something that would be pretty special. I love this idea, and I hope we can get it taken care of at some point, you know.
Yeah,
it'll happen, man.
Okay, all right. So yeah, well, Sean, you know, your perspective is a little different because you're a referee, but you still work just as much as like most of the wrestlers. How many shows do you normally do a week? Is it 3 or 4? How many?
There are some weekends where because you know, you got to think I have every Thursday. Most Sundays I have something, because whether it be Grindhouse, the school here locally at the arena, Grindhouse, they have a student show that runs twice a week. Every other week. Sorry, and then also Glory Pro, they run on certain Sundays. So between those two, you know, I typically always have something on Sunday, and then also, whether it be some kind of, you know, Saturday show, whether it be Black Label, Unsanctioned, just different stuff. On Saturday, Friday, I typically try to keep it somewhat local because I work and it's hard for me to get off. So, but yeah, between all that, man, like I literally plan my calendar out to keep myself busy Thursday through Sunday. So yeah, most weekends I am booked Thursday through Sunday. So,
well, if we can find a silver lining here, has this additional time that you've now been given, if we can look at it that way, has this helped you in any way, shape, or form? I mean, have you been able to kind of work on any personal projects that you didn't have time before?
Well, not necessarily personal projects. One thing that it's definitely helped me do is, I got to a certain point, actually right before all this happened, coincidentally, where I was starting to feel kind of burnt out. I had a moment, I guess you could say, on a show, a pretty high-profile show that I don't really want to talk about, but it was what it was, and it just kind of made me really doubt myself and question myself. And then literally the next day, I guess this is kind of some kind of positive message. Literally the next day, I had a incredible show and had a blast. Had people telling me that they were glad that I was their ref, and blah blah blah, whatever. So that whole weekend had happened, and I was just kind of shooken up a little bit about it. And then it wasn't 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks later, all this happened, and so, if anything, it just really made me a fan all over again, because I've been able to go back and watch so much. I've been able to get caught up on a lot of stuff that I wasn't able to, watch. I've went back and watched. I forgot to mention it a second ago when I mentioned High Spots. I would be so remiss if I did not mention how godsend IWTV is, because there is so much. You remember whenever people was talking about the WWE Network and how it's so crucial if you're a wrestling fan and how you have to have it and blah, blah, blah. And same way with IWTV, man. There is so much good stuff, and I'm not getting paid for this plug, but there is so much good stuff on IWTV that I've went back and I've been watching, old IWA stuff. You're just like, holy crap, that match happened. And also too, another cheap plug for IWA Mid-South, my home. They on their YouTube, they actually have a ton of classic matches of different people that have, guys that are in WWE now, guys that are in. I remember that match that I was trying to think of. For instance, I went on a Nate Webb. I went on a Nate Webb. What's the word for it?
Rabbit hole.
Rabbit hole. There we go. Thank you, Drew. And I had watched a match between Nate Webb and Matt Cross. I also watched a match between Nate Webb and Kevin Steen, also now known as Kevin Owens. And both those matches were so good. Both of them are free on YouTube. So if anything, I've really appreciated and became either fans of my friends or some of my friends I became even bigger fans of. You know what I mean? For instance, Calvin Tankman. I was fortunate to start to get to work with Calvin again a lot. Back in the day, in the Memphis days, I was working with him every week, and I hadn't really got to see him here recently. Paradigm had brought him in a couple times here recently and stuff. But dude, I've went back and watched his matches from Bizarro Lucha. I went back and watched his matches from a couple other places. And God, Calvin is the man.
He's top level,
Dude,
he's
he's so good.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say, Derek?
I was gonna say him versus Mercer yesterday was gonna be so good.
Oh my gosh, I know.
That's another person that was debuting that was just gonna blow the fucking roof off of it. Everybody in the crowd would have lost their mind when he wrestled Mercer.
Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I actually ref that match before at one point in my life.
That match happened. They feuded for a while at IWA actually, but that was years ago. You know?
I know what I'm doing, man. I know what I'm doing.
I know you know.
But yeah, I mean, I've loved to watch. I mean, Tankman's one of those guys that when I see him on the card, obviously I'm happy to see him. And I don't know if you guys have been listening or whatever. I'm sure you have. But one of the fun things of this past year for me has been having somebody different in the car that hasn't seen a lot of these people. So I've been bringing John to some of these shows. He didn't know who Tankman was before he went to Emerge, and now it's like one of his favorite dudes. So I get to kind of like see all these Indiana people through fresher eyes, and it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, that was something that was going to be really exciting, is seeing Tankman at Unsanctioned Pro. My God, Derek, why is he?
Hold on, Drew. Sorry to cut you off. You brought up John. Can I just say how sweet of a moment it was that he was able to interview Braden?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool for him.
I've been working on
I thought that was cool.
trying to get him to do that for about 6 months, maybe a little longer, So I'm
Hey,
hoping.
you know what? If he's listening to this, John, do more interviews, dude. You did fine.
Yeah,
he did a great job. Yeah, he did a great job. Yeah.
If it took you 6 months to talk him into doing it, like, he needs to do it. Like,
I agree. I think it went really well, and I hope that he does more of them. And it's nice too, because a lot of times those relationships and everything kind of all falls on me to keep up with all that, and there's only so much of me to go around, so it kind of makes it tough. So, I really appreciate him stepping up and doing that, because, man, and it was a good interview, and I think he got some good shit out of Braden that I wouldn't have got out of him, so I really liked it,
Definitely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, I can't remember where we were. That never happens to me. But how about this?
Thanks, John.
Yeah, fuck you, John. We were talking
about Tankman. We were talking about Tankman. Right. Before that, I was talking about being a huge fan of my friends, and how if anything, I've learned to appreciate what I have and what I do and who I work with and all that. If anything, that's the lesson that I've been able to grasp out of this. That's where we were. Back to the root.
Sure. All right. Well, we're going to jump around a little bit here, because I want to talk to Derek about how. Okay, so you've mentioned maybe doing some kind of like little pop-up shows this summer. How do you envision this? What is the logistics behind this, and how would this all work?
Not necessarily going to try to enforce social distancing, but one of the main plans is going to be that they're going to be shorter events. Main reason for that is we can keep the tickets cheaper. By doing that, we're going to move to basically standing room only. If you want to bring a chair, bring a chair. Just be conscious of other people. Maybe we'll designate like 2 sides of the ring where you can definitely set up some rows of chairs and let people stand close to the ring on the other ones. But maybe shorter shows, cheaper tickets. They're outdoors. It's hot. We're going to try to be at places where you can get food and beverage. Obviously have water so everybody can keep cool. Basically, the point is I want to get people together to enjoy wrestling while we can, because with everything going on, we don't know how many more opportunities we're going to have to do that for a little while.
How important is it to keep your product from getting cold, too? Like, are you worried about that?
I am. One thing that I'll say works in our favor is that we're already a company that will run, if we aim for every other month at this point, but maybe sometimes it's like 2 months between shows. A lot of it just comes down to venue scheduling, and being able to get the key people that we want to be there. Because, for example, we've basically had the same refs from UP9 all the way through UP8. Sean was going to potentially miss the camping show, but that's the first time it happened, and part of the reason is we try to make sure we get everything we want. Yeah, so since we already do that, and people aren't used to seeing us every week or every month or every other week, it's kind of just like, oh, this sucks. It's a little bit longer until it's Unsanctioned Pro Day again. Yeah. So I definitely feel for companies that are more regular running in this situation.
Do you think that's something that anybody needs to worry about, Sean, or do you think that when wrestling comes back, fans and everyone alike is just going to be so thankful that they just don't give a fuck whether a product's cold or not, and everybody's just going to go to the shows?
That's obviously the hope. It's I mean, to be completely honest with you, man, it's completely it's so unpredictable. Like you really have no clue.
Yeah.
But like, um, shoot, I had a thought and I completely just lost it. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the hope. Um, I like, I just can't wait to get back to going to shows. To be completely honest with you. Uh, oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you still there, Sean? What's going on over there?
I don't know. I
Okay.
just completely blanked.
I see that. Okay.
Blue screen.
Yeah,
All right.
to answer your question, obviously the hope is that people are going to come back out and not care about the whole entire virus and are going to want to gather in groups and different stuff, man. I know that people miss the hell out of wrestling because that's another thing that I've been doing here recently to try and, I guess, get my rocks, or I guess feed my addiction. The other day, IWTV streams shows every other hour right now during this whole entire thing, and they streamed a IWA Mid-South show that I happened to be Iron Man reffing. And so I was like, you know what, screw it. I've never done it before, but I'm gonna live tweet during this show. So, and I did that, and it was crazy. Like kind of the response, like just people that were paying attention to what I was tweeting and also watching too. So, I hope that people will come back in flocks. I know that I've also talked to people, and their whole opinion of this whole empty arena watching wrestling with no people is just weird to them as fans. You know what I mean? So, yeah,
Okay.
That's the hope.
Derek, you got some thoughts on that?
Man, Sean, are we just like taking turns blue screening?
I think we ought to just have John do all the interviews from now on. I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
I love Drew interviews. I love Drew interviews. It's really, like, to be honest, it's a hard question to answer. You know what I mean? Just because, like,
I'm like sitting here silently trying to think of an answer before you ask me, and then you ask me, and I'm still like,
it's like, man, like I pray to, like, whatever higher power is, whatever you believe in, like, please, like, fans come back out and, like, droves.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, right?
And not only that, but like, go ahead. My bad. Sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dave.
What I was gonna say is, like, from the perspective of somebody putting on a show and having conversations with all of the wrestlers, these comeback shows are gonna be crazy. Like, everybody really wants to wrestle. So
yeah.
From that perspective, I think the fans know it, but I also think that there are going to be fans that are weary and they're not going to be sure if they feel comfortable going in public. So at the same time, I'll say this: when all these companies start putting shows on again, if you are comfortable going, go. Even if that means you pay for a GA ticket and you stand 6 feet away from people, go support this.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody involved is going to want to put on the best show possible, and they can't do it if people don't go.
Oh yeah. Because I mean, we all miss it. So I know I can't wait to get in the ring again.
Yeah.
Like the last show that I did, like I said, was Battle Bras. I think was the last thing that I did, and that was not last weekend, but the weekend before that. And literally the only dude, I was able to get in the ring and do some stuff that the week after, and then this past Tuesday was the first Tuesday ever that Mouse didn't have the open ring whole deal.
No, see, I'm gonna have to tweet him about that, man.
Dude, like, and it's just like, man, like, even that was just like, I don't know what to do on Tuesday, like, so.
According to Mouse's Twitter account, it doesn't even matter because people don't show up most Tuesdays anyways. But hey,
facts. And what's funny is that
I'm just a human retweet. I have no opinion on the matter.
He'll tweet pictures and he'll tweet, like, stuff about who showed up and different stuff and say things, and he'll never include me, and I'm always sitting right next to him, and I'm like, what the heck?
He hates you, Sean.
He goes, Sean. I'm like, Mouse, how come you don't ever tag me in these posts? Like, I'm always giving him crap about it or whatever. He's like, Sean, you don't matter. I was like, fair. That's fair. That's
you
fair.
do matter, Sean. You do matter. Fuck Mouse,
Sean, you
you know.
matter, buddy.
He's got a big head. He thinks that, because he matters so much, he thinks that nobody else does. Unbelievable.
Runs
So,
one show. No.
well,
Hey,
I'm, you know, he.
yo, if anything, Mouse is gonna be the biggest heel coming out of this shit. I promise you that. That's my
It could
campaign.
be. Well, okay, so Sean, you lost all your WrestleMania bookings and everything. Do you think that WWE should have just postponed WrestleMania, or are you looking forward to whatever we're about to get here in a week?
I mean, that's also that's another tough question to answer. Just because, like, I feel like the way that they look at it, AEW and WWE both, is they are doing a service, and to keep going, and like everything is still going okay, and like whatever the message is, and blah blah blah. But like to me personally, the empty, like I was saying a little bit ago, the whole empty arena thing is depressing. I can't watch it anymore. Like I tried to watch Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, AEW, and all that because like whenever it first started doing these empty arena shows, because of the whole like this is history, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm a nostalgic kind of guy anyway, so like I kind of wanted to like just be like I wanted to watch this, and so but the more like as I was trying to keep up with it and watch it, week by week, it's just like I can't, like it sucks. Like I'll still try to catch AEW because dude, like it's so crazy watching AEW and like just I don't know, maybe just because I'm an indie guy or whatever, and I've been on the indies for and I've been doing what I've been doing on the indies for as long as I've been doing it or whatever, and but like watching AEW over WWE and these empty arena shows is like night and day, dude. It's ridiculous. Like so, but that's a whole nother side note.
Okay, so hang on a second. Should they have gone ahead, or they, is they making the right decision by going ahead and doing WrestleMania, or should they have postponed it? All right, Derek, what do you think?
No, hold on. Here we go. Here's my answer right here. To keep up with the storyline, I would say go ahead and go with WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? If that's what they're doing, if they want to be like, hey, we're persevering through this, go ahead and go on with WrestleMania with the empty arena. And how I like how they've made it a bigger deal by making it 2 nights. You know what I'm saying? Because WrestleMania is a huge freaking deal. You know what I'm saying? But like. I am tired of I'm tired of all the BS anyway. Like I'm just tired of all this crap. But like the empty arena stuff, I can't watch it anymore. I'll probably watch, but it's just hard for me to watch. You know what I mean?
All right, Derek, can you give me a more definitive answer than that, please?
I don't think that it was a very smart move. I think that they probably should have postponed it. I understand wanting to continue to provide what they said they would when they said they would, and having ongoing TV. I mean, AEW's in that same position like you mentioned. So I understand why both companies are continuing, but I think it's kind of a disservice to WrestleMania as a whole to not happen in front of 60,000 people and it happen in an empty arena.
Right, like, exactly. Yeah.
But it is the day and age that we're living in. It is the day and age we're living in where everything's digital, and as a product, there's no better time than now to make sure you've still got fresh product coming out, because a lot of these other shows, like, think about this. TV shows are recorded, right? Months in advance and edited months in advance. Are we going to run into a point with, like, network television where there's no new TV for a while because it's been filmed months? And if so, that would make a lot more eyes go to WWE or AEW because people are going to be bored sitting at home on quarantine. Right. So, I mean, it's a two-sided coin. I get it, but I don't like it, I guess.
What if they did this, okay? what if this wasn't WrestleMania? What if they just had a different show and they called this the, coronavirus special or something, and they raised money to donate to folks that are, affected by this, and they just did kind of like a house show type situation, and that's
only
what they
for
did.
Performers that agreed to it because they're comfortable
Correct.
with it, because it
Yeah.
sounds like everybody at WWE is dragging their feet because nobody wants to do it.
Yeah, well,
Wrestlers
apparently
are pulling out left and right.
I think
Staff
it's
are
all.
staying home.
Well, I think it's already taped. I think everything's taped already. So
Right.
it's either that or they're finishing up tomorrow or something. But
Wait, like WrestleMania's already taped?
yeah.
Oh yeah, dude, they've taped weeks of TV already.
Man.
That supposedly they did a bunch of different finishes and different matches and stuff just to kind of confuse anyone who might leak stuff, so that way they can just finish it all in the editing process. So it's going to be goofy, and it's not going to be anything like WrestleMania.
Man,
so,
real weird. There's going to
Yeah.
be like actual, like, I know they edit the shows, but like as far as like live TV, the fact that they're going to be putting out a heavily edited product is also kind of odd.
Right.
Even the shows they tape are usually live to tape. Like, if you go to an NXT taping, it's 3 hours and 40 minutes, because that's how long it would take with commercials, basically. So, they pretty much try to, do everything live to tape if at all possible. So, it is going to look weird. And having known that information, it's probably going to look even weirder now. So I'm sorry if I ruined that for anybody. But
You're welcome.
I knew that it was being pre-taped. I knew that, but I didn't realize that they were taping it this early because, of course, stuff is going to come out. Dirt sheets are going to do what they do, and so that's why I'm just kind of like, that's what's going to ruin WrestleMania for me. You know what I mean?
Not the coronavirus.
Yeah, no, not the pandemic.
Okay, hold on.
Thanks,
Sorry.
Derek.
Time out. Rewind. So besides the fact that obviously we're in the times that we're in, and what had already ruined WrestleMania, that's what's going to ruin the feeling of WrestleMania for me, is people being like, oh, this has already happened before I've seen it. You know what I mean? And that's going to...
Yeah, I think they should have postponed actual WrestleMania, combined it and made it like Summer Mania or something like that. And
Right.
that way you could just have one giant show with 2 nights, later on this summer when it's safe for everybody. And this monstrosity that's going to show up is going to be terrible. But, who knows? There might be some good matches. It's just really hard to tell if a match is good if there's no reaction from anybody, I've been to many shows, as you guys know, and I've seen matches that if you saw them with no sound, you'd be like, oh, well, this was okay. But because the crowd was going nuts for it, it's like, it turns into a Meltzer 5-star Jizz Fest match because of that, And so it really makes a big difference in not having a crowd at all. I don't know. I wish...
Drew, sorry to cut you off, but also, like, you say that, and remember we've been in shows with crowds of 30 people going wild, losing their shit. You know what I'm saying? And it added to the match, and it helped with the match because even though it was 30 people, and you wouldn't think that 30 people could be that loud, but they can. And that, I think that's why I kind of have enjoyed watching AEW. Because the boys will actually be out there watching the matches and cheering and stuff, and you can hear them, and you can hear them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
WWE doesn't do that, and that kind of sucks. You know what I'm saying?
I wish
The one thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Derek. You're good.
I was gonna say that's the one thing I didn't bring up is also, as he mentioned when we were discussing, should they run or not. What AEW's done is really good. Like, it's really cool having the wrestlers out there and showing them, betting on the matches and interacting with each other. Like, that's a really good element, frankly. And they could keep doing that if they needed to, and it would still be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost as if they're using every opportunity to develop their character so that people are more emotionally invested in them.
Wow.
I don't.
Oh my God.
I don't like it. It doesn't seem like a sustainable thing to me. But they've learned a lot. And the one thing about AEW is that they are new, so they can be more flexible. As we know, that's a big problem with WWE. And it's, and I mean, everyone said it a million times, but it bears repeating, is that it's not a flexible company. They do things one man's way, and that's the way that they're going to be done, and which is fine, and that's the way it's supposed to be. However, when you can't do any kind of, you can't become flexible. This is the kind of time of everyone's life when we all need to be flexible, because the world is changing every single second, and if we're not going to be flexible, we're going to just get be left in the dust, so that's pretty smart. Well, all right, well, we've jawed on here for an hour here, which is pretty good. I'm happy about that. Sean, how are you going to deal with all this coming up, and if you could have one coronavirus wish, what would it be?
For it to be over. That's my wish. As far as dealing with it, I'm day by day, man. Like, I mean, that's how I've always lived my life. It's just, living day by day. But at the same time, like with this whole entire, ordeal, I've literally just been kind of taking it day by day. And, like, even because when Indiana had talked about, shutting down and all that, blah, 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 whatever, my work, we had a moment where at the beginning of the day, they were like, are we going to have to shut down? And somehow I don't know if they found a loophole or whatever, you want to call it, but they were able to stay open. So, but I'm just literally taking it day by day, figuring out ways to, still keep my name out there, so whenever this all comes back, people can think of me to book me. So that's why that was part of the reason why I, live tweeted the other day during the whole IWA thing on IWTV. So
where can folks find those tweets?
It's at official SPO502 is what my Twitter page is. And then of course I'm on Facebook, Sean Patrick O'Brien, all that good stuff. So, but and then also, just watching more wrestling, deep diving and studying more wrestling. That's what I'm doing, a deal, I guess, until this crap is over with. So.
Derek, if you had one coronavirus wish, what would it be? And what other messages do you have for the listeners out there?
Now, by coronavirus wish, am I allowed to pick a person and say you? No. Okay.
Oh, jeez. You went dark with that one. Holy crap.
I don't have that much anger towards anybody to actually wish that on them. Well, okay. Anyways, I would say, yeah, like Sean said, for it to be over, that'd be nice. Just want to get back to what we're supposed to be doing here, and putting on shows with great talent that'll, some go on to do other things, or, get the fans together and everybody have a good time. That's really what I want. Outside of that, I am just going to hang out at the house and play video games. If you have Xbox, you want to play Grand Theft Auto, hit me up. We're going to be throwing some merch on the web store, including we've already got the posters up there for the show that was supposed to happen that didn't. Obviously, we can't offer those autographed anymore because the event didn't actually happen, but it's some pretty cool artwork. So if you have any interest in a cool poster, go hit up our web store. You can go to 614wrestling.com. That'll have links to all of our social media. It's at Unsanctioned Pro on pretty much everything, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And just be smart, be safe, and see you guys at the show soon.
All right. Well, hope you guys can bear with me here. I have a little soliloquy to do here at the end. Have you guys ever seen the movie Parenthood? Are you guys familiar with that movie at all?
I believe so. Who's in that?
Steve Martin.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Derek, you ever heard of that movie?
Yeah.
Okay. So, at the very end, there's this crazy old lady that she's the grandma, and she says crazy things the whole movie, and no one really pays much attention to her. And, but she tells Steve Martin the story. Steve Martin is having problems in his life. There's all kinds of crazy shit going on, in his family, and he's having to figure out ways to deal with it all. And this old lady sits him down, and he's freaking out, and she says, listen, she said, when I was a kid, all of the kids, they all wanted to ride the merry-go-round because it just, they like the merry-go-round. She said, but I didn't. I like the roller coaster. The merry-go-round just goes round and round, and the roller coaster has its ups and downs. And at the end of the movie, there's this complete chaos scene where all kinds of shit's going down, and Steve Martin is losing his cool, and he's about to lose his mind, but he just hears a roller coaster all of a sudden, and he starts to realize that, oh, this is what I want. This is what I signed up for. This is what life's all about. And this whole thing has forced us all to get on the merry-go-round. We were all on the roller coaster, and we were loving it. Pro wrestling was going great. There were ups, there were downs. I know, Derek, and you in particular have a very roller coaster relationship with running shows and all that stuff, and that's just part of it, right?
Understatement of the century.
Right. So, but I hope we can all realize that right now we're on the merry-go-round, and we've all been forced here. But as soon as we're available and we're able to, we can get back on that roller coaster, and that's what I hope for everybody out there. And the next time that things are bad, and I don't mean there's some crazy coronavirus. I mean you stub your toe, or you run out of gas, or whatever stupid life thing is happening. Then instead of starting to get frustrated with your life and start to curse the heavens, you'll hear the roller coaster instead. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for everybody out there. I hope that came across as well as I hope it would. But I love you guys. I'm so thankful for the relationships in pro wrestling, and I hope you guys stay safe and everything. Sean, do you have anything else you want to add, or anything else you want to throw out there to the listeners?
No, man. I love you too, bro. I miss both you guys so much. Man, like I almost had a tear up moment. Step Soul Sarah was on her Instagram live a couple days ago, and I hopped on, and she was like, I miss you so much, Sean. Like, it was like tearing up and shit. And I was like, man, like, God damn it. Like, it's just crazy some of the relationships that we've made through this crazy world. But yeah, man, I miss the shit out of both you guys. So.
I hope I see you soon. Derek, any closing thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
I love you guys too, man. It sucks that this has to be the podcast we're doing.
Right.
Like I said, I hope everybody stays safe, and congratulations, man, because your little soliloquy from the movie, you just named a future show. We'll talk about that later.
Outstanding. Well, I like I said, we love you, the listeners too out there. And we hope everybody else can get back on the roller coaster soon, like I was talking about. For me, my guest, Sean O'Brien, and Derek from Unsanctioned Pro, thank you guys so much for listening.